it's just any of those digital tasks for me specifically that I want to make sure gets done in an effective and efficient way without me having to do it. My VA is just an extension of me, and she does, and the VA team does everything that I would normally want to do in the digital climate or need to get done, but they're just doing it for me to free up my time so I can focus more on the creative space that they're not going to be able to do. Welcome to the Better Than Rich Show with your hosts, Andrew Biggs and Mike Abramowitz. The Better Than Rich Show helps ambitious leaders who are on a mission to leave the world better than they found it, change their perspective on what's important, increase their income and impact, and systemize their life and business. If you've ever struggled with finding your purpose, have felt disconnected or distracted, or found yourself going through the motions, this show will remind you that what you do matters and will re-inspire you to chase your highest dreams. It's time for you to become better than rich.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Better Than Rich Show. I'm your host, Andrew Biggs. I'm here with my co-host, Mike Abramowitz. Mike, how you doing today?
Doing great, Andrew. Thanks for asking.
Awesome.
As always.
That's right. I see you're rocking the Italy sweatshirt. Is that your team or what?
This is actually my gym hoodie. So I got it when I was in Italy years ago, and it doesn't have a zipper, so it's like a perfect hoodie for when I go to the gym. So
awesome. Italy is one of my favorite countries to visit. If you are listening and you've not gone to Italy, make that a priority. It is one of the most beautiful countries I've ever been to, for sure.
It really is. I agree.
Well, hey guys, we are so excited to jump into today's topic, which is all about how to leverage your time, specifically using virtual assistants. It's something that, Mike, you have a lot of experience in. It's something that we advise a lot of clients on, and it's even something that we've gotten into the business in recently because there's just such a need in the marketplace, and we really feel like we have a system that works. And so we wanted to kind of create this episode to give you some best practices, share some of the most common concerns around virtual assistants, and just help you understand if you ever were even remotely interested in having a virtual assistant, what do you need to be thinking about when you're starting to vet different opportunities or different individuals or different companies. And hopefully this will be a really valuable resource for you. But, Mike, when you think about the power of virtual assistants and the power of leveraging your time, what does that mean to you? And then kick us off to get us started into this topic.
Well, I mean, I could tell you I'm going into my third year having a virtual assistant, and it was birthed during 2020 because there was a lot of digital tasks, a lot of upkeep, spreadsheets, data entry, and it was consuming a lot of time, and it was very important to get done. But in the digital climate, it was just like even more data tracking, even more attention to detail with just data entry. And I said, gosh, there's gotta be a better way to tracking everything instead of me doing it or my staff doing it. And then that's when I got introduced to having a virtual assistant help specifically just with data entry, data input, helping with spreadsheet management, helping with that's kind of how it started, at least. And then from there, I mean, I have had Hannah now. She's going on my third year. I couldn't imagine life without my virtual assistant. I mean, and now having a whole team of virtual assistants to help with everything from social media messaging, helping with even my wife has kept her blog, The Journey of James Weston, and Lindsay types up the blog every day. And then Hannah takes that blog post and then backs it up onto a Google Doc, just in case Blogger ever happens to go away. We have it backed up. So she copy and pastes that and puts it on there, uploading videos to YouTube for me, and recordings. I mean, and I'll go into the specifics here during this episode of other things, but it's just any of those digital tasks for me specifically that I want to make sure gets done in an effective and efficient way without me having to do it. My VA is just an extension of me. And she does, and the VA team does everything that I would normally want to do in the digital climate or need to get done, but they're just doing it for me to free up my time to so I can focus more on the creative space that they're not going to be able to do.
Yeah, awesome. And so if we start big picture, what is a virtual assistant? How does this whole thing work? And then, what are some of the biggest questions at the big picture perspective before we get into the specifics? Well, what would you say are like some of the biggest things that are on people's minds in relationship to virtual assistants?
Virtual assistant to me is just an extension of me. It's
Mhm.
somebody who's doing work as me, just me not doing it. That's my interpretation of virtual
So
assistant.
it's funny. I had a client once, and he was like, "I'm doing great. I'm doing." It wasn't a client; it was a prospect, and he's like, "I'm doing great, but I'm wondering, like, do you? The only thing I could imagine being better is if you could, like, if I could clone myself. Like, do you know anything about that?" And he really sounded sincere when he was asking the question. I was like, uh, I don't think so, at least not right now. So unfortunately, it's probably not a fit because I don't know how to clone you. But now that I think about VAs, that really is the answer, right? Like if you wanted to clone yourself and have two of you, three of you, five of you doing work on your business at the same time, now you might say, okay, well, they aren't as good as me, right? Because we all like to think of ourselves as so irreplaceable. But hey, they probably are pretty damn good, and maybe they're 80 or 90% as good as you, or maybe they just are 150% as good as you at certain things, right? And we should at least get those off your plate. So these are just some interesting ways to think about it. Like literally cloning yourself in your business is so powerful. So keep going, Mike.
Yeah, I mean, if you depending on what industry you're in, but a lot of industries do prospecting, a lot of industries do social media messaging, a lot of industries do like CRM upkeep, so, data entry. I mean, these are some of the things that I would normally need to do as a business owner, and as I was doing it, or as I was delegating it to my staff to do, like, well, if my staff is doing this or if I'm doing this, then again, it's taking away from some of the creative work that we need to be doing. So the that's where virtual assistant comes into play for me. It's and now obviously one of the things that we need to get into during this episode is how to properly train them to do it as effective as me, and do it as me. So there's technologies that we use such as Loom and video recordings, and there's screen recordings that go into it, and certain communication parameters that go through it, and you know I mean, we could jam on all that, but that in my opinion is the easy part. The as long as someone is willing to let go of the control, that's really what it was. The hardest part for me was like what you said, no one's going to be able to do it as good as me.
Right.
So once I kind of was able to let go of some of that control, then lights out. It's been for liberating is I would say free, and free is not a strong enough word. It has been liberating for me to have someone do a lot of those um repetitive tasks or data entry type of things.
Yeah, and what would you say to someone, like myself, for instance, who's just now gotten into the VA game? I have a VA, I'm loving it, and also, partially that control is part of it, right? It's like, oh man, I want to make sure that every little detail is correct, and if I'm not double checking and triple checking every single thing, that it's, how can I be certain that it's being done well? I'm somewhat exaggerating for effect here, but there's still a little part of me, like in the back of my mind, that's like, are you sure she's got it? Are you sure, it's going to be done on time? How do you learn to condition that? Like, what would you say as a starting point?
Well, it is definitely earned. I mean, at first I would give small tasks that weren't as weighted. So like I would give a task like, hey, I need this task done by this deadline. If you could do it for me right now, that'd be great. But I just need it done by this day, or by this time. And it would be like a smaller task. And that's kind of, it was like a ramp to build this trust. And by building that trust, and by my VA just doing these things at these deadlines. For example, I just onboarded another VA to support with some social media, and her job is specifically just doing social media stuff for me. So I gave her a 1 hour parameter. I said, in 1 hour, I don't necessarily I don't care how much you do. I just want to know what you did. And so if you could just give me an update in an hour. So what I was doing there was,
Mhm.
number one, I was testing the communication on how well she'll be able to communicate with me in an hour. And then number two, I am able to see how much work she's able to get done within that first hour. So just by giving a 1 hour time frame and enforcing some of the communication, boom, I get the update in an hour. And then what did I do? I celebrated. Thank you so much. As long as you can give me an update in an hour and get work done during that time frame, I mean, we're going to be best friends. So thank you so much. If you can continue and do the same thing for the next hour, and then do the same thing the next hour. So it's just this conditioning of earning my trust by being able to live within the parameter of 1 hour in this example, getting it done. And now I could work through efficiency. So then I could say, well, you only got this many out in that 1 hour time frame. When I've done it in the past, this is a more effective way or efficient way for me to do it. And I would create a screen recording just showing, hey, here's a little bit more of a potentially a more effective way or time effective way to you do the same thing. Can you try it this way during this next hour and just see if it makes any change? Like that's an example.
Yeah.
So
Cool.
I think I answered the question there,
Of
but
course. So what sparks there for me is this age old question of of micromanagement versus autonomy. And one of the things that people ask me a lot, right? Because I think nobody likes to be micromanaged. We hear that a lot, and also sometimes people need to be micromanaged, and so my answer is it depends, which is a common answer in business. You got to know when to micromanage and when to give autonomy. And I like what you just said there, Mike, which is trust is earned, right? And it's like, when we're talking about somebody that we're just getting to know and we're onboarding them, being a little bit more like the person over their shoulder is good to start, and then the trust is gained. And also, let's not start the relationship off on the wrong foot. Let's assume that they're going to be trustworthy to start. But what you did there is you shortened the time frame, right? So instead of saying, get back to me at the end of the day, right? Or even worse, get back to me at the end of the week and let me know how this project's going. You said, get back to me in an hour, right? Now, again, this isn't needed always, but when you're onboarding a new person, this is a really smart idea to kind of micromanage them a little bit when they're new, and then they can slowly gain trust. And later you can say, okay, get back to me at the end of the day, right? And we can start to extend those time frames out. And I'm sure with Hannah, it's a little bit more like get back to me at the end of the week, or hey, give me a monthly summary, right, of all the things you did. So as someone builds trust and someone's been with you for 3 years at this point, you don't need to micromanage them. So it's just a good little lesson wrapped into this VA lesson here. Okay, cool. So relinquishing control is really important. What are some of the other things that are important when we think about, the use of virtual assistants to leverage your time?
Well, the thing is forced me to simplify all of the things that I was doing. So it allowed me to question all the things that I was doing inside of my business. And also I don't really have her do a lot for my personal life yet, but there's probably going to be a point where my virtual assistants do Instacart grocery shop for me. Like I'm just getting into the rhythm because our groceries kind of change every week. But once I get into a rhythm of like, this is the grocery list of exactly what I want. And this is a good example. It's like, I need to get clear of exactly what my grocery shopping cart is each week or every 2 weeks. And I'm clear on exactly what that is, then I can offshoot it to the virtual assistant to say, all right, now I said it, and now I could forget about it because now it's delegated. And the challenge that I've had previously, and I think that some of our clients have, is they don't know exactly how to simplify or explain what they already are doing. So like for me to break down my grocery shopping, it's like, how do I break down my grocery shopping to be more simplistic? How can I, using this example, because I think it's relatable. It's like, how can I make grocery shopping more simplistic? Well, these are the recipes I want to eat. Maybe Taco Tuesday and pasta Thursday, protein Friday. It's like, okay, cool. If I have these themes, and then I can come up with, these are the themes of what it is for each of those days. These are the ingredients for those meals. I can have that set up, and then boom, I can now offshoot that to somebody else to plug that in to the Instacart app and order my groceries for me. So therefore, they just show up at my door. So all I had to worry about and all I had to do was use my creative space to simplify what does grocery shopping mean and how much do I want to eat and how often, what are the items that need to be in that cart. And then I could offset ordering of the cart so it just shows up and is delivered. So all I need to focus on now is I just get those deliverables. I don't have to worry about placing the order or doing the activity because I did the creative work one time. And that's the way VA works for me, is I only have to do the creative work once. And if I do the creative work one time to simplify it, and I can scale it easily and delegate it and offset it and offshoot it to somebody else. That's a pretty on the spot, off the dome analogy, but it feels pretty good.
Yeah, it's great. And I mean, and even if you wanted to change the order, right? Like you could. And this is where we can get into the idea of systems and processes, and go back to listen to episode 7 as well around systems and processes, and how to actually create those for your business. But what you need is you can have like a repository, right, where all the orders live, and then it's just, if you wanted to make an edit, it's okay. Hey, here's the standard purchase, but then you can go in and make a change, right? And it's like, hey, by the way, this week substitute to Taco Tuesday for pizza night or whatever. So then that pivot can be made really easily. And really, this is the concept. We did this a lot when I was working in India. Every project that we worked in had basically what we call living documents. And living documents, if you're not familiar with the concept, is shared documents that everyone has access to, that needs access, that are up to date in the moment. So as soon as one person makes an edit, everyone else can see it. And this is why cloud computing is such all the rage, right? Because if you're editing in Excel or you're editing a Word doc, right, then you save it, then you have to email it. There's all these sorts of different versions that someone else might be working on. But if you're using shared documents in the cloud, i.e., Google Docs, Google Spreadsheets, Google Forms, all for free. There's other tools too you could use, but why not use the free ones? These allow you to have these repositories of information. If you just make a quick edit, then you don't even have to inform your VA that change was made. They can simply instantly use the change. What other technologies do you use, Mike, to help you get the most out of your virtual assistants? How do we make sure that they're actually being used wisely, and that their time isn't being wasted?
So one I use is called Screenshot Monitor,
Okay.
and that's what they log in. So Screenshot Monitor is what they use to log in on their end. And so I had to create an account for Screenshot Monitor, and then they log in on their end for Screenshot Monitor. So that's one way for them to clock in, because that just tracks their screen time, how long they're active on their screen. And then it also sends me a report of what was on their screen and what they were looking at and what they were doing during that time frame of their shift. Another technology I use is Google Form. So Google Form is a way for them to clock out of their shift. And what they do on that Google Form is how they put how many hours they worked, and also they put all the tasks that they got done. So they type out every single task that they got done for that shift. So that's documented. Then I also use WhatsApp, which is another technology, which is to have them communicate to me that they're done with their shift. So they're clock out for that shift. So they'll also send the recap. Even though they're filling out the sheet, I have them fill it out on WhatsApp, because I'm looking at the WhatsApp more so than the Google sheet. So I'll have them send the same thing with the summary of what they did and how many hours they worked. They also send a screenshot into WhatsApp with the the screen, how many hours they worked on their screen time. And we use WhatsApp for clocking in as well. So they'll send a good morning when they're ready to work. So I know, hey, give them, if they need some assignments for the day, if they don't already have a to-do list, then well, I'll give them some assignments once she'll clock in with a good morning text. So these are a couple of the systems and like setups and some of the technologies that we use.
Mm-hmm.
Then obviously I have my CRM, and that she could update and data input into. We have texting base, our texting service that she'll enter data into. We use Calendly, so she'll essentially pull some people from Calendly, their information, and input that into our CRM. Just because the CRM, one of the CRMs I use is very obsolete. I would say it's very archaic,
Got it.
and so we have to kind of play with it a little bit, and maneuver around it, because just so situation's always the boss. But those are a couple of examples.
Mhm.
Again, some
Yeah.
of the technologies we use.
Awesome. Awesome. A couple others I'll just throw out there. Trello is a really good tool for assigning tasks, tracking tasks. You can see, you can create urgency, you can put due dates, you can add files, you can communicate back and forth on Trello. So if you're not familiar with Trello, you can check it out. Um, with most of these technologies, there's like a free version and an upgraded version. So, we're not really recommending anything that's going to cost you hundreds and hundreds of dollars a month or anything like that. And these tools are really, really powerful. Also, I would say 1Password is one that we've been playing around with, where basically it allows you to save all your passwords, which, by the way, is just useful for you personally, because how many times have you had to reset your password? I guess it's just the plight of the modern man or woman that these days we have to remember, 50,000 logins and 50,000 passwords. So this solves that problem because it stores all your passwords for you, but it also allows you to share those passwords with your virtual assistants, and they don't even see them, right? They just see like the little dots, if you will. So that's really cool. And then, did you mention Loom, Mike? You were talking about.
Oh no, I didn't mention it.
Okay,
No,
cool.
Loom is, you can mention Loom.
You
Loom,
gotta mention.
Zoom,
You
yeah.
gotta. Yeah, you gotta get Loom. So Loom is basically like this little, extension for Chrome that you get, that you can install, and then it allows you just really quickly shoot a quick video, and it captures your screen and it captures your camera as well, and it creates a link that allows them to download, or not even download, just stream and watch it right away. So again, that's completely free, up to 5 minute recordings, and so we highly recommend that one as well. We will go ahead, and I know we just threw like 10 or 12 technologies at you. We'll go ahead and link to all these in the show notes, so that you have easy access to all of them, and you could just sign up for all of them. Again, it's most of them are free, or they offer free trials at the very least. But yeah, what's coming up for you, Mike?
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned Loom. I can't imagine not having Loom. What's nice about the Loom is it also saves it in a library. So I encourage not to do the paid version. I do the paid version, but the paid version is good because you have more than 5 minutes. But that
Mhm.
under 5 minutes is perfect, because the attention span for most of your VAs are probably going to be under 5 minutes anyway. Put it this way, if it takes you longer than 5 minutes to explain what you need to explain, you need to dumb it down more and make it that much more simplistic. So I like the under 5 minute Loom feature for that reason. So, and that's kind of what ties into what I mentioned before, is
Mhm.
you as the business owner, you want to figure out what are the strategies to make it even easier to explain what you do and what you want to do, and to be able to delegate. And that's not just delegating to a virtual assistant, that's just delegating to anyone. How can you make what you do as simple as possible, where someone can do it as effective, maybe 85 to 90% as effective as you, or get it 85 to 90% done, where all you need to do is do the final 10%, or whatnot. So that's the way I want you to think. And if you could get to that point where you're thinking in those terms, it's a makes a world of a difference. It doesn't matter your industry. I mean, if you're in real estate, imagine having someone uh, update a spreadsheet with all of the like you might have a MLS, that you have access to. What if somebody was to go through the MLS and just pinpoint all the best ones out of the MLS and just put it on a spreadsheet for you, so all you have to do is explain to somebody, how do you search for the best properties on the MLS? And then if you could simplify that, you could teach that to a VA, and the VA can just go find all the best ones from that list, put it on a spreadsheet for you. So you're only looking at a spreadsheet of the best ones versus having to scroll through an MLS, as an example, just to
Mhm.
free your mental capacity of not having to scroll, and you're not having to search. All you're doing is looking at an already pre-searched list. Now, there might take some training, it might take a little bit of a learning curve for them to get to exactly what you want. But imagine what life could look like for the next. I was just having a conversation with Justin Donald, and he's had the same VA for over 20 years. So it's like, so we don't have to be
Wow.
so short-sighted. It's like, oh my God, they're only going to work with me for 6 months or 2 months. I got to teach them everything right now. I'm going into my third year with Hannah, and I think about Justin, who has had his same VAs for 20 plus years. This is a partnership. It's not just, again, this is a partnership because it's an extension of me. And it's just me doing all the stuff that I know it needs to get done, but somebody else is doing it for me. And I love that analogy of just being cloned.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, awesome. So what, I love what you're saying around how to simplify things. And when you think about, why is McDonald's able to pay minimum wage? I've used this analogy before, right? It's really because they've thought through everything and made it so simple. They have a system that's so easy for anyone to execute, even a 14-year-old kid, that's how they're able to actually function. And so what you want to do is always simplify the whatever the task is to its most basic form, right? If you are asking someone to be super creative and you're asking someone to think outside the box, that's great. There's a room for that in your on your staff and in your employees. We want to have people in our brain trust who we can bounce ideas off and who are bringing ideas to us and these sorts of things. But we also need people to execute, right? We need chiefs and we need Indians, and we need people who are going to go out and actually do the work as well. And this is a little bit more that latter category where it's like, okay, what are we actually going to do? Who's clicking the button? Who's sending the report? Who's, hitting send? What is it that it actually needs to get done? And they're the worker bees of it. Now, again, and I don't say that in a disparaging way. It really is. That's what their strengths are. And so we should let people play to their strengths. I think that's another sort of under recognized fact here. And I worked overseas for 5 years running an outsourcing center. Okay, we had about 200 people when we first started. When I first jumped on board, and then we scaled that up to 1,300 people or more. We were doing $30 million a year. It was a pretty large operation, working with, mostly in the mobile gaming industry and handling almost all of their support. We had 6 of the top 10 highest grossing apps on the App Store at the time as clients, and we were serving them in a really high capacity. For some clients, we were getting like 40,000 emails a day coming in that we were processing with a 24-hour turnaround time. So obviously we had to have a lot of like if then processes, and you have to create that, right? So when you create that, that's when you're able to bring somebody in. And now that work where it's like a little bit tedious, it's a little bit repetitive. For a lot of entrepreneurs who are attracted to this show, and people who want these like freedom-oriented creative lifestyles, and they want to travel and they want to be adventurous, that maybe doesn't appeal to you, and that's okay. But understand that it does appeal to someone else, right? And I've even told people in the past, because most of these virtual assistants are located overseas, either in India or the Philippines or Indonesia or Bangladesh or, they're all over the place, of course. But these are some common countries. Understand that the education systems in these places are different than our education system. It's not better or worse, but what it is it's different. And most of the education is by rote, meaning it's very much like a memorization culture. It's very much a culture. These are cultures where attention to detail and getting it right and getting it exact and precise is highly valued. In America, our education system is a little bit more, probably needs to be even more so in my opinion, but is a little bit more geared towards hey, what were the major themes of the text, right? Can you understand the allusion that is referencing back to, this other ancient story of Shakespeare or whatever? Okay, let's get together and let's do a class presentation and use a visual aid and do public speaking and think outside the box and try to come up with novel concepts. Our education system is totally different than others. And so we're actually not trained really well to do these tedious tasks as well as others are. And I think we should just recognize that, because sometimes I've tried to give some of these tasks to, people in America who are maybe just a little younger and getting started, maybe they're a college student or something, and they don't even want to do the tasks. Whereas the people in the Philippines that we're working with, they love doing the tasks, they're great at it, and they're so eager and excited to work with us. It's just a win-win-win across the board. So I know I'm kind of mixing concepts here, Mike, but I ranted for a while, but what's coming up for you?
It's spot on. I mean, it's spot on. The stuff that is repetitive, that is obnoxious for some of the people that listen to the show, like you said, is what they love to do. I mean, they
Yeah.
just are fired up to do it. I think about for an perfect example is we just recently onboarded a client, and she was really reluctant, we'll call
Mm,
it,
mm.
she was really reluctant to have a VA, and she's like, no, I don't know if this is good or if we could do this. And she works in the like the mental health space. And she's just like, I just don't know if, how I could put this person to work or whatnot. So
Yeah,
we
and
had
and
it.
if I'm not mistaken, like she even had compliance concerns, right?
Yeah,
She's in the healthcare space, mental health, HIPAA and working with all these different compliance agencies and stuff. There are some serious concerns there that you got to make sure are, you're dotting your I's and crossing your T's, right? So not to interrupt, but
for sure.
keep going.
Yeah, yeah. No, 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 for sure. So she had a lot of different concerns. And I was like, listen, all I know is the VA is an extension of you. That's it. So it's just like you doing the work. It's just they're doing everything as you. They're logging into your profiles. They're using your passwords, right? It's just like you're doing it. You have to establish the trust, and that's why, you know, you're putting your trust in me and in our team that we vetted really good people. So we arranged a Zoom. We hopped on Zoom, and myself, Andrew, our onboarding manager, the client, the new VA, we're all there. We're just talking and having the conversation around, hey, hey, VA, this is what you're going to be doing. And the VA was super, super nice, super friendly. And one of the things that I think we do a really good job with, and we did a really good job with here, is explaining the work that the VA is not necessarily the work that the VA is doing, but the work that the VA is representing. So what Andrew was saying is that they're doing repetitive tasks.
Mm,
So a VA is doing these repetitive tasks, but they're representing a cause that is bigger than the repetitive task. So by the end of this conversation, when we're saying, well, by the end of the conversation, it was promoted and explained as, you're doing the data entry for this, but the company that you're working for, this is a problem that that company solves in the marketplace, and you're playing a really big part in helping solve that problem. And the VA was fired up. And what we have is we have a private chat with just all of our VAs. There's 8 or 9 or 10 or 11, 12 VAs in this private chat that we have right now. And every day we're pumping gratitude into the chat. You're making a difference. Great work today. The work that we're doing is helping humanity as a whole, because all the entrepreneurs are in these different industries, and this is the work that they're doing. So I think that's kind of that partially plays into the part of, it doesn't matter where they're raised as far as the education system goes. Everyone loves working for a greater cause and a greater good. And to Andrew's point, even if they're raised to be strong in the day-to-day repetitive type of work, the creating that culture of being a part of something bigger than them is also really, really important to
mm,
create. And that's something that we've done a good job with
for
our
sure.
VA team. So that
And
was what kind of showed up for me.
and if I'm not mistaken, you even sent Hannah like a care package from America to the Philippines, right? Is that correct?
I I did. I didn't realize the shipping was going to be $150, but uh,
Well, it's
but
good.
I did. I sent her a nice card and Cutco products,
Mhm,
because Cutco doesn't ship over there, and she was fired up. And I that was it's just a beautiful gesture. But what's more important is I want her to know that she is, again, the extension of me. She's a part of the family,
mhm,
and I'll give bonuses and gratitude, and just little voice notes or videos, just like expressing that gratitude. And she is doing that now to some of the VAs that she's working with, and
mm,
it's really cool to see. This is and this is very important to also say, within 2 years until recently, I only had two live conversations with Hannah in 2 years.
mm.
Say that one more time to make sure everyone caught that. I only had two real time live conversations on Zoom with Hannah in 2 years. Everything else was through voice memo and like just I'll send her a video or I'll send her a voice note. And it was
Mm-hmm.
never real time live communication within a 2 year period,
Mm-hmm.
which is just in itself should speak to how how easy it is to work with someone who is excited to work.
Absolutely, right. What would you know? Because this is a question we get a lot too. It's like, hey, man, this all sounds good, but it also kind of sounds like, is it really fair, to for us to be paying somebody, $6, $7, $8 an hour, or $5 an hour, or whatever, in the Philippines to do this work? Like, is that enough for them to get by on? Like, how did you wrap your head around that, like morally? Because I thought your answer was really good to this, and it's something that a lot of people don't understand. I can speak to it as well, but how did you help yourself understand that better?
So the cliff notes of this is when I went to Ireland for the first time and I took it was the worst game ever. I went into the ATM machine and I put my card in and I wanted to get out cash. And this is years ago, but I wanted to take out, let's say it was $500. So I put $500 in and it gave me like 400 euro or something like that. And
Yeah.
it was like, this is the worst game ever. I was like, what the hell? I want $500 and it gives me 400 euro. And this is when it was like 1.25 or 1.5 to 1, I think at the
Hmm.
time. And the euro was more powerful. And then I went to, there was a McDonald's there. And this is my way of knowing how is the currency? How is the currency? So I went to the McDonald's and they didn't have a dollar menu. They had a euro menu. So the euro menu is a dollar, is 1 euro. And I was like, shit, the dollar is really weak. Man, this kind of sucks. It's the worst
Hmm.
game ever. So I asked Hannah and I asked her, I said, what is your dollar menu? Like how, if you go to, like I said, do you have McDonald's? Yes. How much is the dollar menu? Like, what is it considered there? And then she told me whatever it is in her currency, and I did the math to kind of get an idea of how much is that equal to into to the American dollar. And essentially it came down to where um every every two or every $800 to her is equivalent to approximately 2,000 to $2,200 in America. So $800 to me is equivalent to about $2,200 to her. Something along those lines was the way I was able to do that conversion from our dollar, like the dollar menu example. So
So you're
that's
looking so you're
that's
looking at close to 3x,
so
essentially.
yeah, it's about two and a half to 3x,
Yeah.
somewhere in that range. So if she goes to a dollar menu there in her currency, that's
Right.
the way I was able to
Right.
see what it is.
Right. And so it's just important that everyone listening, you think about purchasing power, right? So it really doesn't matter, how much someone's earning. What matters is how much purchasing power that person gains. And of course, this is, super relevant with what's going on right now. If you're paying attention to the news and paying attention, if you've filled up your gas tank in the last 6 months, because your purchasing power in America has gone down. So it doesn't matter if you get paid, more because that money's going right back out the door. So you want to think. So what Mike is saying is essentially, if you're paying somebody $6 an hour in the Philippines, it's essentially the same as paying someone $18 here through currency arbitrage is kind of the technical term there. And so really, it's kind of like a is it are they making kind of like the equivalent of a six-figure income or something? Probably not, but are they making kind of the equivalent of like 30, 40, $50,000 a year? Yeah, they're making kind of like a middle class living in their terms. And so it's important for you to understand that you're providing a job to somebody who's, in like a middle class family that someone can really sustain like a family on. I think Hannah has 4 kids, you know, in another country. Now, you might say, well, I want to provide jobs in here in America. And it's like, great, but sometimes the minimum wage is too high for you to really be able to do that. So if you want to do that in America, awesome, more power to you. We have employees here in America. We have employees overseas. It's like just knowing which ones you want to do for which tasks is really what I would suggest, because ultimately, as a business owner, you have to be taking advantage of these different tools at your disposal. So, great answer there, Mike. I really appreciate how you think about that. I want to circle back to one question you said. You were talking about this like MLS in the real estate market, and we were kind of trying to think about, okay, what tasks should I delegate? How could someone begin thinking of all the tasks? What sort of tasks are we looking to get off our plates if we're a business owner? Because sometimes people come to me and say, "Hey, this sounds great. Where do I even start?" Like what would be good tasks? I know we're sort of going back a step here, but what? How do you think about what tasks to actually delegate?
It's such a loaded question because the tasks that I offshoot, they come up all the time. Like
Mm-hmm.
and it's hard for me to say, "Oh, here's a list of every single task that
Well,
you should do for
it
your
sounds like
company."
you've come up with a mindset, right? It's like, if
It's
the
yeah,
task matches these criteria, so maybe it's anything repetitive, anything tedious, anything that drains my energy. Like what else is on
anything
that
dat like
list?
yeah, data entry for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Any data that is in one place. Let's say there's data in four different places. My VA, I want her to put all of that in one place.
So
So that
aggregating
way,
data from different sources. Yeah.
yeah, so that's a
Mm-hmm.
very important. So that way I only have to look at one place
One
where all
report.
my data lives.
Mm-hmm.
So one report, one data place. So that's one. Any type of copy paste messaging. So any type of messaging or communication that needs to go out, that is for sure a task that I don't want to do. That includes email, that includes text, WhatsApp messages, anything like that. Anytime we're onboarding someone new and we need to, update a profile for them, any profile updating, that is for sure what a VA does.
Managing a CRM, right, or an ERP or whatever. Yeah.
Any type of profile update
Mm-hmm.
is something that they'll do, that a VA does. Any type of uploading of videos to or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, or yeah, so like I have a Thinkific course,
Mm-hmm.
so it's taking the videos to put into the course, so that way it's something that I definitely don't want to do. Um, there's progress reports. So
Mm-hmm.
the people that are taking the Thinkific course, I want to see how they're progressing. So she will go take those reports and see how people are progressing and then communicate to those people, letting them know how they're progressing. So it's putting it in front of them, because there's not like an automatic, there's an email that goes out every week, but there's nothing that goes out each day. So I have it set where she could look at the progress report and then message the individuals that are going through and saying, "Hey, I saw you completed 40%," or
Mm-hmm.
a version of that to be like our reminder sequence that is not existent in
Right.
that platform.
Cool.
Again, I'm just kind of spitballing here.
No, it's
There's
good.
others,
It's
but
good. So it sounds like anything tedious, anything repetitive, anything data entry, anything that's going to drain your energy. I was talking with a client the other day. He's like, yeah, the first week the VA paid for themselves because like they did 20 hours of work of the work that I hate the most, and they loved every second of it. I was like, yeah, exactly. So anything that like drains your energy, even. Um, so this is really good stuff.
transcription, that was another one.
Yeah.
I'll send a video to one of my staff members. This is actually really fun. I sent a video to my staff member. I said, "This is what I need you to use for your department." And she's like, "So what do you want me to do? Just kind of type out notes?" I said, I want you to take my voice note, and yes, I want you to create notes, and you could send this voice note to Hannah and have Hannah do that for you. So she'll just transcribe it and then give you the notes, so that way you have it." And she's like, "Are you serious?" I said, "Yes." So she sent it to Hannah, and by the end of the day, Hannah, she I don't know if she sat there and typed it out. I don't know if she went and used a program like Otter.
Mm-hmm.
Frankly, we don't care what she did.
Mm-hmm.
She transcribed it, sent all the talking points to Alexis, and Alexis' response to me was, "I need a Hannah for my personal life. I need this is a 20-year-old student who is using my virtual assistant to get her work done and make her life easier." And that's one of the benefits of having a VA in my staff. So
Mm-hmm.
I have 5 assistants that work in my organization, in my Game Changer office. So I have 5 assistants, and these 5 assistants have access to my VA team, and their user experience is so much better because they have access to VAs as well. And this is what the coming back to that, the mental health client, all of the work that her VA has been doing has been offsetting the work that 3 other team members used to do. So those team members no longer have to do that data entry stuff. And now the culture of her organization is now evolving because this client is now helping them see, hey, I want to do everything I can to make your job easier, but so you can focus your energy on generating more clients and not using your energy to data entry. And they're fired up about it. And she'll tell you, I'm not going to disclose, but she's pretty active and vocal about this. But her business is already increased, and just in her first month, her profits have gone up, and the culture has already increased dramatically just in the first 30 days. It's been really great. So I preach about this. I see what it's done for me, and it's been fun.
Well, this is fantastic. It's been a really cool and fruitful discussion. This is jam-packed with details and content that I hope you, the listener, you're enjoying. I was talking with someone just today who just signed up for our services this morning, and he said, at the end of the day, everyone I've spoken to around virtual assistants, he talked to 3 different companies and decided to go with ours. And he said, basically everyone, what they say is, if you get the right person, it's everything, right? If you can find the right person. And so, one of the things that we've done through our relationships with my, overseas experience managing, 8-figure business in the outsourcing space and understanding how to interview and find talent in emerging markets. Mike, with your experience of personally managing staff in the Philippines, over the last 3 years, we've come up with a process to find those right people, source them, and make sure that they're all winners. Obviously, we also have a backup plan in case they aren't, but so far so good, right? And our clients are thrilled with it, and we take a lot of that legwork out of the process, right? And a lot of the risk out of that process, and we're even doing it at a really affordable way, especially since it's a new business vertical for us. So. If you guys are interested, you want to hear more about what we actually offer with VA services, we want to encourage you to go to www.betterthanrich.com/VA. And there you will find more details on all about what we're up to in this program. We do have, we are offering 50% off our onboarding fees for the current moment. But as we grow, these prices are only going to go up. So act now if you are interested, and if you are even remotely interested, you can also schedule a time with us to chat. But Mike, what would you like to say about what we're up to and why this matters to you?
If you're in a position where you're growing, or you just want to free up your time, or you just you want to spend that extra time with your family, you want to spend extra time with you in just the creative space, it's a no-brainer. When I first onboarded Hannah, I had to pay a company. It was $2,500 up front, and then that was it. And I never talked to the company ever again. And that was it. They faded away. I haven't talked to them in 3 years. And I realized that I was lost for the first several months of working with her. I didn't know how to work with her. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know what to say. I didn't know how to manage her. And I was all figured out just from me doing it and from trial and error and testing things out in the busiest season of the year for me. And through that trial and error, I had the conversation with you, Andrew. I was like, I learned and figured out a lot of things that can save a lot of people time and save them some money. What do you think about bringing this into some of our clients? And that's kind of how this was birthed. And it's been awesome to have now 8 clients that we've done this beta test with. And it's been going really great so far. And I'm really excited to see where it can go, because it's been life-changing for me, and I can't wait to help it be life-changing for other people.
Absolutely. And so far, we've gotten nothing but rave reviews on that, and I see nothing but that for the foreseeable future as well. So, hey, thank you so much for taking the time to learn today and to feed your mind and feed your heart and feed your soul. Hopefully you can run with this, whether it's with us or with another company. If you, again, are interested to learn more about what we're up to, check us out, betterthanrich.com/VA to learn more. Until next week, leave today better than you found it. We'll catch you later. Thanks again. Bye.
Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed this episode and you'd like to help support the show, please share it with others, post about it on social media, or leave a rating and review. To catch all the latest from us, you can follow us on Instagram at betterthan_rich and join our Facebook group at the Better Than Rich Show. Thanks again for listening. We look forward to seeing you next time. And remember, leave today better than you found it.